let's fix some acoustical damage. This video, I kind of lost the day of production this week, and I was supposed to be taking it easy because theoretically this is my week off. It's my vacation. But I was out doing an errand, and my car's battery died. It turned out it wasn't that far a walk from what turned out to be a Walmart. Can you imagine? I have a Walmart battery in my car now. But, you know, I was walking across this immense parking lot at midday. It's like 3 aircraft carriers long. It was 93 degrees Fahrenheit, but felt 110 with the humidity. That's 34 Celsius, feeling like 43. And I was Peter O'Toole in Lawrence of Arabia with less eyeliner. And the sun was doing that thing where it was scowling at me and was making those high-pitched sounds. And if you were looking at me slogging across the pavement from afar, you probably couldn't see my lower half because I was completely subsumed by the shimmer of mirage. So I lugged the battery back across all this expanse. And, you know, I managed to install it. Fine. But I got back home and I said, you know what? I'm just going to sit down. And I'm not going to film today. And I will drink a store brand lemon lime soft beverage. I will read my book and I will do nothing else. So there. But now, of course, once I'm back here in the shop refreshed and full of jocular mirth and raring to go, we have to get these done. I'm going to start with this Martin D18. The year, who knows? The serial number, I think, is lying to me, as it's 6 digits, but I refuse to believe this was made in 1969, based on a number of observations and some small amount of experience on my part. It's more obviously from this century. And it looks in very good shape, except there's a piece of tape on the treble side, upper bout. Wonder what's under there. See if we can gently peel it back. Ooh, wow. So that's a gaping puncture. I don't know how it got there, but I'm going to assume it involved a spike bayonet. Of course, there's also that story that's going around in various social media posts about someone who had to get telecom wire or cable or something installed in their house, and the technician comes along with his super long drill bit, drills from outside the house into the interior, manages to get himself into a closet, and drills directly through a guitar case and into the top of a very valuable Martin. That I have always assumed was clickbait, and maybe it's not. Maybe this is what's happened here. Ah, you gotta love it. The piece which is blown out is still just barely attached on the inside. It didn't go missing. This bodes very well. What are the chances it's going to fold back into place without ripping itself apart or falling off? Yeah, no, it's already disintegrating. Don't try it. Remove it. Here's the back side. Here's a photo of the damage on the inside. Gotta say, it is a rather remarkable hole. Kind of thing that you find the next day after you lent your guitar to Johnny Paycheck. It's like, what's this? Don't ask too many questions. So this thing is in a very delicate state. It is broken all the way through, and only the lacquer is holding it in position right now. Trying to manhandle this back into position, I think, would be quite difficult. So I'm going to try and flatten this out for one thing, because it's bent in the wrong direction, and also provide some support behind it. And I just happen to have a piece of mahogany veneer which might do the trick for that. I'll use a gluing caul made from UHMW, which is ultra-high molecular weight plastic. It's quite stiff, very slippery. Glue does not like it. And I'm going to use regular woodworking glue for this rather than hide glue. I kind of like the idea that this stuff is more bendable when it's cured, and there's going to be some bending involved, I'm sure. So we'll try and get into the cracked area. It's requiring a certain amount of force to press it back flat. So, while that glue cures, we'll take a look at a similar but different Martin guitar. Maybe it too will have secrets to reveal. Here we have a 1972 D35. It's the one with the three-pieced back. Beautiful rosewood. And, you know, it's in pretty good shape. And for its era, not bad at all. There is an issue. See that we have side splits, a couple of them. There's also a couple of deceptive looking scuff marks here, which will probably end up buffing out at the same time when we do the finish repair. But yeah, these are happening along grain lines, following the grain. And right now, they're very tight, they're well behaved, but it's the kind of thing like if the guitar took a little knock on the side or something, these things could pop right open, and you know, it could be 13 inches of woe, you know, a lot more difficult to align and get glued up properly. So let's definitely secure these things before it goes too far. I'm using fish glue this time, specifically because it has the property of pulling the glue surfaces together even tighter as it cures. It's a phenomenon it shares with hot hide glue. As usual, I get a good lake of glue on there and force it through the crack to the other side using a suction cup. I'll go back and do this a couple of times to make sure it's thoroughly wetted. Then I'll use some circular magnets to hold the surfaces level. And I'll put on a couple of spool clamps as well for good measure. I'll plane up some material for interior reinforcement. These cleats don't need to be overly thick. I sometimes find them at over 1/4 of an inch, like 6 millimeters. That seems a bit excessive to me. I don't think they need to be thicker than the original side material, for instance. So I usually make them about 2 millimeters, 80 thousandths thick. And here again, I don't think it really matters a whole lot which adhesive you use. I'm using Titebond because in my mind, again, if the side gets hit, it's perhaps a little bit less likely to sort of crack right off than one of the protein-based adhesives. It's maybe a little more resilient. And these two get held in place with magnets until the glue can dry. Quick rub with some liquid buffing compound. These things closed up so tightly that they're almost invisible. Back to the punctured D18. There was a hanging Chad. Just a little tiny guy, a little chunk. But I didn't want to lose it, so I decided I would wick in some thin CA glue to hold it in place, because there's going to be a little bit of muscling around to get the reinforced patch to conform to the area. Didn't want to knock this off. Here is the patch and a preliminary fit. Had to squish it in place because it was glued flat, of course, and the surface in there is curved. Trying to move that into the most auspicious location. Want the feng shui to be right. When I was kind of satisfied, there was more missing material around the outline than I figured there might be, but I got it gluey, pressed it in the right spot, and brought in the awesome physical power of magnetism. This again has to stay clamped up for a couple of hours. It looks like a quick little job, but these things are not quick little jobs. You know, the actual time it takes to complete them is usually a day. Once the glue is dried, I'm going to wick in some thin CA to seal any exposed wood on the top side and provide a base for filler and color. There are a couple of voids that are just too deep to work with, so I'll fill them with some epoxy putty. Knead this stuff up, and I'll squish it into the little recesses. Not too concerned with neatness at this point because I'll rub most of it off the surface and just leave it down in the little channel. Then I'll slowly be building up layers of CA with the intent to have enough material to sand down and make level at the end. This is a multi-step process. I'll make up a selection of powdered pigment colors that are in the family of what I'm seeing in the guitar. These are opaque. They'll be mixed with shellac to paint over the fill and disguise some things. I don't have exacting recipes for this stuff. I just blend by eye. Usually for mahogany there's going to be the sienna colors, burnt and natural, a little bit of brown. I try to find a tone that's similar to the background of a mahogany, which is more orangey than brown. I want the touch-up to be fairly deep under the finish. Should be pretty close to the surface of the wood. In between coats I'll sand the surfaces flatter using some 1200 grit wet dry paper. I use it dry on a flat block. This knocks off the high spots and keeps it from getting too uneven. Eventually, when it seems like I've got enough finish on there, I'll work my way up through micro mesh grits to 8000. Then I'll hand rub with some liquid polishing compound in medium and fine grits and blend this into the rest of the surface. Till at last I am satisfied enough. This is much less identifiable, it's not in danger of imminent collapse, and it's on the side that the player rarely looks at, which is always helpful.